Welcome back. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the second guest of the day. I am joined by lawyer, public policy and social affairs analyst, Liborous Oshoma, to discuss the controversial Section 134 of the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria. Thank you very much for joining us again, sir.
My pleasure.
All right. There is still so much bad blood about the outcome of the 2023 elections. Why is this so?
Yeah, because you do not make promises in vacuum. You make promises that you are going to ensure that the election will be as transparent as it can be. You went around the country telling people that you are going to deploy technology to curb malpractices, and at the end of the day, on the day of the election, the technology fails woefully due to human error and not due to the fault of the technology. Certainly, people are going to raise, issues. They are going to complain about compromises. No matter the outcome of that process, a lot of people are going to complain. So you can't flog a child and expect that child not to cry. So that's what you see playing out here. The process that led to the outcome was there were a lot of compromises. What was promised was not what was given, and that's why there are so many complaints. And I know that in Nigeria, typical of us, all of these issues will come up. A lot of issues will be thrown up. So that's basically what's happening.
So, Mr. Oshoma, if I get you, so INEC must take the blame for this bad blood.
Yes, INEC will take the blame. The politicians will take the blame. Nigerians will take the blame. Not just INEC. Yes, it starts from INEC. INEC was the one that made the promises. A lot of people banked on those promises, just like Morrissey promising that he was going to conduct election. The transparent election, if that be the last thing he would do on earth. But we saw how transparent the election eventually became, how materials were dumped in the bush. And so this one also, there were allegations that the BVAS was going to be bypassed. Professor Mahmoud came out to assure Nigerians that the process was going to be transparent and that nothing of such was going to happen. And then when it did happen, a lot of people, smelt foul play. And in the same vein, Nigerians were those people who helped INEC to compromise, if there are any compromise. And also, the politicians played a very key role to ensure that the process was skewed one way or the other. You rig the election where you are popular. So they all participated in that process. So that's why I say you blame INEC first. You blame those people who also aided the compromise. You just can't take out, one party and leave the rest. Otherwise, consistently, those parties, because there won't be deterrent, there won't be consequences. Those parties will keep keeping on. And that's why in Nigerian election, you see, the build up to election, there are a lot of activities, promises are made, compromises are made. There's so much money spent, because it's a big deal. There is so much, so much pet attached to the office. The only existing job today now is politics. And so that's why people will kill to serve you. This is and it is funny, it is ironical that you kill to serve the people you want to serve.
All right. So Section 134 of the 1999 Constitution remains contentious. Do you think this election outcome fulfilled the provision?
No, I think it is the fallout of the election that is making that section look contentious. That section is not as contentious as lawyers are making it seem. Because of what had happened, you see everybody will look for something to claim that their position is stronger or is better, So lawyers will look for how to squeeze out water from stone. So that's why it seems as if, there is one big problem. All of a sudden, Section 134, it's a big problem that because the Constitution simply says that for you, where there are one or more candidates, that you must win at least 25%. That's 1/4, 1/3 in at least 2/3 of the states of the Federation and the FCT. So now all of a sudden, lawyers are saying that the votes from the FCT are golden votes, while votes from other parts of the Federation are silver votes. The Constitution, as interpreted by the Supreme Court, did not create such intendment. The Supreme Court had interpreted that all votes in Nigeria are equal. No one vote is higher than the other votes. Also, for the purpose of determining the Constitution, that the FCT shall be determined as a state. That's Section 299. And so if that be the case, then the next question will now be, if a candidate wins 36/36, are you going to say because that candidate didn't even win one vote in the FCT, and so he cannot be declared a winner? Is that the intendment of the drafters of the Constitution? Because we don't just use, in rules of interpretation in law, we don't just use the literal rule. There's what we call the golden rule. There's what we call the mischief rule. There's what we call the ejus dem generis rule. So in this case, what mischief are the draftsmen intending to cure? The mischief is that there must be spread. For you to govern Nigeria, you must at least have a spread. And so the intendment is not to create a superpower state or a special status state. For the fact that it is FCT, the Constitution did not intend to make the vote coming from the FCT special status vote. And that's what some lawyers are arguing. And so I think all of this is because of what happened with the election. If the election were, like we say in law, we say, let justice be done if even the heavens will fall. But remind you, the heavens won't fall. So if the elections were seemingly more transparent than this, I think all of these arguments wouldn't have even come up at all.
All right, so what you're confirming to us is that votes from Abuja are not superior to votes from the 36 states. Is that right?
Not at all.
All right.
Not at all. The votes from... Look, let me tell you, the intendment of the Constitution, take it to the bank. It is not the intendment of the Constitution that any state in Nigeria would have a special status in as far as votes are concerned. That's why all votes are equal. So if you score 25% in 2/3 of 37 states, you don't even need to score one vote in Abuja.
Okay.
Let me, like the example I gave, if you score 30, if take for example, a candidate wins majority, more than 50% votes in 36 states and did not score one vote in the FCT, are you going to say that candidate cannot be declared as duly elected? Is that the intendment of the Constitution? Does the Constitution also create similar status for governors in the various states of the Federation? The answer is no. So I think all of this mischief is coming up because, like I said, because of the way the election went. And so everybody is looking for something to hold on to claim victory. If the election had been more transparent than this, certainly you won't have all of this back and forth. And sometimes I listen to, some senior lawyers also giving analysis and creating examples that are not apt. I've listened to some saying, oh, what if you say, answer one question and 4 other questions? That example is not apt. It's not in tandem with Section 134. I've also listened to analysis saying, okay, if I say I want Ugozi and 4 coppers, what it means is that Ugozi must be present. But for the purpose of Section 134, for example, is Ugozi a copper? That's the first question you should be asking. For the purpose of Section 134, FCT is, for the purpose of the Constitution, FCT is said to be a state. So what it means is that in calculating to 25% if you score 25% in FCT, for example, it should be calculated alongside other 25% that you have scored. So if FCT is the last state where you got the 25% to clock 25% of 2/3 of 37, it is equally still good. You don't have to now say because FCT is FCT, so that 25% should not be reckoned with. That's what Section 299 says. So when you now come and say no, because it says and in the FCT, it then means it didn't use that ought to have been an including. Why also didn't you look at it from the fact that the Constitution did not say and in the FCT? If the Constitution also has said and in the FCT, it means that you will get this one separately and then you now get this other one separately. But it said and the FCT. So what that means is not in all cases that you read them, conjunctively. What it means is that for the purpose of calculating the state of the federation, the FCT also should be taken as a state of the federation. So what it means is that you're talking about 37 states, the 2/3 of 37 states. Because in that section also, well, let's look at it also as English students. The Constitution couldn't have described the FCT in that section as 37 states. So what the Constitution simply said was the 36 states recognized as states and FCT that is not called a state. But he now went to the definition section in Section 299 to say and state that for the purpose of this Constitution, the FCT shall be regarded as a state, even though it doesn't have governor and parliament the way other states have. And what is that purpose? For achieving this such definition. So all of this mischief that is being created is highly unnecessary. And I would think, also quickly permit me to also say this, because I've had a lot of questions. Let me use this opportunity of this larger classroom to answer some of these questions. Some persons also have argued that the presidential election petition should be determined before May 29. That is a practical impossibility, except the petitioner wants to take only the issues of law and jettison the issues of fact. If you want to take only the issues of law, then those ones can be argued, parties can join issues, and the tribunal would make decisions on that even before May 29. But on the issues of fact, proof of irregularities, the petitioners also know that they will have to prove polling unit by polling unit. Do you think that 1 month, are you not unnecessarily placing a heavy burden on the petitioner who's already overburdened to now prove a case where you have 170-something thousand polling units to prove within 1 month? If people are arguing that, yes, the people who are in support of the petition are arguing that he should, the determination of the petition should be less within a month. How is he going to do that? And if you take only issues of law, that is the issue of non-qualification, the issue of Abuja. What if you fail on those issues? What if you fail and you go on appeal and you fail on those issues? What are you going to do? That means, by your own making, your petition is dead on arrival. So, and I think that is why we should not unnecessarily begin to ask for impossibilities, knowing fully well the provisions of the Constitution. Yes, there are problems, there are issues. Allow the law take its course. The judiciary should not be unnecessarily blackmailed, because that will also create problems. You are submitted to the adjudication of the judiciary. Allow that process to run seamlessly.
All right, Mr. Liborous, so why has this divided opinion among senior lawyers?
Like I told you, look, whether we like it or not, lawyers in Nigeria are human beings. They have political leanings. And also some persons have openly showed their political leaning, while some also have pretended, to just pursue the positions of the law. But in all, a lot of these lawyers also have political leaning, and their interpretation is dependent on the side of the divide that they belong. So, and that is why all of this mischief would come up, all of this interpretation would come up to try to see how they can push the argument of their clients. And so I've had cause to have interactions with some senior advocate on this also. And then when they tell me they are trying to test the law, but you are being paid by clients. So you are not just testing the law, you are pushing the narrative of your clients. You are pushing the argument of your clients. So it is not a public interest. When you create such narrative, you create such, argument in support of your client, be bold enough to say, well, you are representing a client and this is the position of your client, and that's why you are pushing it. No. But to make it look like it's as if it's a public interest matter that you are pushing, and so you just want the courts to determine all of those issues for public interest sake. It makes it look, it makes a mockery. It makes a mockery of the law. I've also had courts. Remember, when Emefiele, a CBN governor, attempted to contest under the platform of the APC, so he said people bought form for him, I had cause to engage some senior lawyers who believed that Emefiele, even as a sitting CBN governor, could contest the election, despite the clear provisions of the law. They said they were going to test the law because they have been retained by the clients to test that position. So it wasn't a public interest matter, but the fact that you are pushing a position as retained by a client. So that's why you see some of this argument also, because somebody wants, somebody believes that that position should be explored. And I quite agree that it is, they are free to express such position and test the law. But to not make it look as if you're doing it for public interest's sake, that there is a lacuna, there is a confusion, that's the part I do not agree with.
All right, we've been discussing the controversial section 134 of the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria with a lawyer, public policy and social affairs analyst, Liborous Oshoma. I must thank you for always helping us interpret the Constitution where there may be some ambiguity. Thank you very much, Mr. Liborous, for coming on the show tonight.
My pleasure.